Okay, let's quickly summarize since we haven't learned in a while. So where have we been? So where we are in chapter 3 in part 1. Okay, we're in the middle of chapter 3. The first chapter spoke about the nature of God and what we need to know about God. The second chapter spoke about the purpose of creation, right? The foundation of creation. What's the purpose of it? And that was that God created a place where he would be able to create a creation to whom he can bestow ultimate goodness. And so he needed to create a place of choice, right? A place of perfect balance between good and evil, elements of perfection, elements of imperfection. Things that get you closer to God are elements of perfection. Things that distance you from God are elements of imperfection. Mm-hmm. And then, so we discovered that this creation is going to be the humankind. Mankind is going to be placed in this perfect balance, and so therefore he has to have a freedom of choice. He has to have elements that are pulling him in both directions, right? Elements of perfection, elements of imperfection. Yetzer hara, yetzer tov, midos, good midos, bad midos, right? Elements of flesh or gashmias, and elements of ruchnius, spirituality, different elements pulling him in different directions, and he has a choice which way to go. But there is nothing's tipping the scales one way or another. It's perfect balance. But then we discovered that perfect picture of perfect balance only existed for Adam HaRishon before the sin. Once Adam HaRishon kind of faltered, right? So then he changed the balance. He messed things up. Okay, and so he not only he lowered himself down, he brought evil into the world, and he diminished those elements of perfection, and he increased the elements of imperfection. It happened from his own choice. In other words, it came from him, and now he made the challenge much more difficult. So if before it was easy, he would have just picked, if he would have made the right choices. So we discussed also last time. So he needed to avoid Eitz Hadas. That we understood. But how does he perfect himself? What's picking him up? Avoiding Eitz Hadas is preventing him from falling into the trap of evil. But what's actually elevating him? So we discussed perhaps there was avoida in Gan Eden, right? There was something that he was supposed to do, or maybe it was just there was nothing that he had to do. Maybe he had to just hold it together until Shabbos comes, like the Medrash until Shabbos comes, and then Shabbos would come, and then he would have been sanctified. Okay, and we'll see about that. Okay, but he didn't. He ate from the Eitz Hadas, and as a result, now he had to go back. Before he can perfect himself, he had to now first return to his previous stage. Okay, so let's see. So now we are at letter Tes, I believe, on page 50. Okay, so milvat kol zeh. So in addition to, or besides all of this, besides all of this, Gozra Midas Dinoi is Baruch Shmoi. The judgment, the midah of judgment of HaShem decreed. Mm-hmm. The midah of judgment, of God's midah of judgment decreed. Shelo yuchlu lo ha'odam v'lo ha'olam, that neither man nor the world will be able to me'ata from now hagia lashleimus oidom betzura shenis kalkala, that they will never reach that perfection while still in this already disintegrated state, fallen state. Mm-hmm. So I have a hard time understanding this, but so he's telling us that, so after the sin, in theory, he has a double job. He has to go back to the state before the sin, and then from then that state go attain perfection. That's the theory. But he says, well, but one second, God's judgment said, no, we're not going to go in that direction, because you can no longer attain perfection in this fallen state. Okay. And now, again, so I would have said, you know why you can't attain the perfection in that fallen state? Because there's just no way out of it. Once you let's say, again, you have a couple, husband cheats on his wife, okay, then they decide to patch things up, and they work together, and finally, yes, and they can have a wonderful marriage. They could rekindle things, and everything will work out, and they'll have a marriage even better than it was before. But it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same. You can't just wish away what had occurred. So I would have said, it's just physically impossible at this point. Once the Adam Rishon has, created this evil, it's physically impossible for him to get back to the original place. He's never going to be in the original place. But I would have said, is it possible to attain perfection from this place? I would have said, yeah, it is possible to attain perfection from this place. Just, it's a long journey. It's a long journey. So now what he's saying the opposite of almost the opposite of what I said. He's saying that, I don't know, maybe you could come back to the original place. But even if you do come back to the original place, the midas dino, not God. It doesn't say God decreed. I mean, it's obviously God, but it says the midah of judgment of God, that there's some kind of an element of punishment here. That even if you could physically do this, I'm not going to allow you to have this happen. Right? I decreed. Right? Decreed means that even though it is possible, I decree that this should not be done. I decree that you cannot achieve perfection from this state. I need you to start fresh in a different state. That's the point. Right? Okay. And that's a judgment thing as opposed to just it's physically impossible thing. Mm-hmm. So I find this kind of interesting.
I mean, on one hand, we're trying to undo the sin. The other one, on the other hand, is saying, even if you do undo the sin,
right? But I'm not interested in. Again, I'm more interested in just how is it physically possible? Forget that. Why do we bring in me this judgment of punishment when it just should be either physically impossible, right? And if it is physically possible, I don't fully understand how.
Okay.
How it's physically possible once you've already did so much damage. How does he just go back to it? No, I don't. Okay, so I don't know. So I'm going to take it as like this. So I'm going to understand that the idea of getting to the place. Right now, I'm saying this as of right now. Maybe we'll change that as we go along. But right now, I'm saying is that to go back to the place of Adam Rishon before the sin is impossible. Okay? In theory, when he said in the previous paragraph that the man's job is doubled, that he has to first go back to the original place and then attain perfection, that's a theoretical idea. That's what needs to happen, but that cannot happen. I don't see how you can go back to a place of Adam Rishon before the sin. Okay. Now, can you attain perfection? I would say yes. In the fallen state, can you attain perfection? The answer is yes. You have to fight off the evil until you get back to the point of perfection. It's a long road. It's possible to get there. Okay. It's possible to get there. It's never going to be, like I said, you're never going to go to a place of perfect balance, which is Adam Rishon before the sin. You'll be a perfect disbalance, but out of this perfect disbalance, maybe in theory I could see how it is possible to attain perfection. And on that he's saying that the judgment declared that even though it is possible, I will not allow you to have it occur. I'm not interested in you achieving perfection from this fallen state. That's what I'm understanding it right now. Okay, so again, so Gozra Midas Dina is Baruch Shmoy Shlo Yuchlu Loy HaOdam V'Loy HaOlam Mi'ata Hagiya LaShlemus, that neither the man nor the world. So he's also stressing both of them, neither the man nor the world. The world certainly didn't do anything. It's the man that kind of brought the whole thing down, right? So, but because of man, okay, well, let's see. Neither one can attain perfection. Oidam b'tzura sheniskalkala, while they are in this fallen state. The hainu hatzura sheyesh lahem achshav. This is the form that they have right now. Shebon nisraba hara, because there is an increase of evil. So what should happen? Ela yitztarech, it necessitates lahem be'achrech, by default or by definition, avor ma'avar ha'hefsed, to pass through a state of hefsed, of non-existence, of destruction. Dehainu hamov le'odam, which is death for a human being, va'hefsed l'kol shar ha'hoivim, and the destruction for all other creations, sheniskalkalu imoy, that were brought down together with him. Okay. And so the neshama will no longer be able to purify the body. First, it has to leave the body. And the body has to die and decompose. Then afterwards, it will be returned, and rebuilt, binyan chodesh, a new building, right, a new edit, right? V'tikon is by neshama, and then the neshama will enter the body, v'tizakchehu, and will purify it. V'cheina oilam, and similarly the world kuloi, the entire world, yischarev, has to be destroyed, mitzurosoi shel ata, from the form that it possesses now. V'yoshuv, and will come back. V'yikones b'tzura acheres, and will enter into a new form. Ru'uya l'shleimus, that will be fit for perfection. Okay? V'alkein nigzar ala odam sheyomus v'yachzer v'yichi. So it was decreed that man should die and return and be revivified. V'hu'inyan tchias hamesim, and that's the idea of tchias hamesim. V'al ha'olam, and the world sheyichore v'yachzer v'yichudesh, that has to be destroyed and returned and renewed. And this is what our sages of blessed memory said. Shita alfei shnei have alma, that the world will exist for 6,000 years. V'chad charuf, and 1,000 years the world will be in a state of destruction. Right? Ulasoif elef shana, and at the end of that 1,000 years, meaning the 7,000 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu choizer mechadesh aseilomai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will return and renew the world. Okay? So this is, this is quite incredible. Quite amazing. Right, so Tchias Amesim, according to the Ramchal, when is Tchias Amesim occurring according to the Ramchal? Tchias Amesim is occurring after 1,000 years of the world being in a state of destruction. Okay? And assuming that 1,000 years is literal, I don't know, who knows. But so the world is in a state of destruction, and then the world is rebuilt, the body is renewed. The body is renewed, the neshama is returned, and then the body is purified. That's Olam Haba. That's perfection. Is that perfection, or is that maybe Adam Rishon before the sin? I don't know. Okay, let's continue. 10. So therefore, according to this basic principle, Zman Hagmul Ha'amiti, the time for true reward, or the real time for reward, the Hainu Zman Kibul Aschar, that's the time for receiving the reward, that we mentioned above, that there has to be this time, and the place, who Acher Tchia is really only after the revival of the dead, in a new world. And then a person will delight in it with his body and his soul. When his body will be completely purified, via his soul, and he will be prepared via the soul to actually enjoy this good, meaning God, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Of course, we know that there will be a difference amongst people at that time. But it's and there was going to be a change of their levels and their stature. In proportion to the measure that they toiled in the world of service, meaning in the time of now. And in a proportion to their effort that in order to achieve perfection. According to that measure, tizdaher haneshama, ba'atzma, that measure, the proportional, will give light to the neshama, v'toyer baguf utizakhehu, and then it will enlighten the body and purify it. Boy, this is tough. And then they will both acquire honor and excellence and elevation. So, in the world of service, what are you doing? You're giving armament to your soul to light up your body in the world to come. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go with that. And then they will both will be worthy to come close to the master, and to bask in his light and to benefit from his goodness. So what do I have a hard time with? My hard time with is like this. So in the world to come, the world is destroyed. The world is renewed. Now the bodies are brought back to life. Right? Are we to assume that, so the material of the body is universally the same?
No. But okay.
Or it sounds like it is the same. It's the only difference is the light of the neshama. One person's light of the neshama is very bright because he put in a lot of effort during the time of service, and another person's neshama is not as bright. So when those two neshamas enter the bodies, right, one is able to purify it very strongly, the other one not as strongly, and so they each one take. Yeah, is that the picture?
More or less.
Something about this bothers me tremendously. Okay, let's move on. Let's keep going. So now 11. However, and now that we say that there's a decree of death upon a person, as we mentioned, that this murkav, meaning this composite of body and soul, and it has to be separated for some period of time. v'achar kach yoshev lehischaber, and then to return to reconnect. Hine gam mizman hapirud hazeh, so therefore at the time of this separation, roi shiyu mokom l'shnei chalokim hamispordim, there has to be a place for both of these parts to go to. No ois l'mashin yirtz l'peridahu, and the place has to be proper for the time of the separation. So v'hine aguf, so now the body, we know where it's going to go. Tzorich sheyachzer liyisoido, has to return to its elements. V'tiporid harkavosoi, and all of its different parts have to separate. V'tiposeid tzurosoi, and the form that it possesses has to cease to exist. V'hoya min ha'ofer, and since it's originally from the earth, Elov Yoshev, it'll return to that place. V'hu ma'ashu amriz baruch shmoy lo'odam, and this is what Hashem says to man. Ki ofer ata vel ofer toshuv, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Ach haneshama, however the neshama, hazoiche b'maseha, which assuming was merited through its deeds to become purified, hine ein lo ela l'tzapois at sheyose baguf. Now, all it has to do is wait until the body goes through mashatzorech le'osais, through all of the things that it has to go through the body, meaning that through the decomposition process. The haino hatocha v'hefset rishoyin, right? This is the decay and decomposition initially. V'hesher be'ofer, and then remaining in the ground, cause man shetzorech, that the entire time that's necessary. By hibonus mechodesh acharkach, and then it has to be rebuilt afterwards. Likashitoshu likonasbo, and only then the soul will return to it. So v'amnam, so there, however, tzorich sheyeh lo makom ben kach u'ben kach. So then, in the meantime, the neshama needs a place, to spend the time. V'ulam l'tzorich zeh. So therefore, for this reason, Huchan olam hanashamis, Hashem created the world of souls. For this purpose, Hashem created the world of souls. Sheboy tikanasna hanashamis, that into that world the neshamis will enter. Hazaka is the one that were pure. Acharei tzeisen meguf, after they leave the body. V'tishkoino shom b'mokam menucha, and they will reside there in a place of rest. Kozman his galgel alaguf hadinim haruuyim leis galgel olov. The entire time that various judgments that the body has to go through will go through the body. Okay, so far, the soul purified itself. The soul needs a place to hang out. So Hashem says, okay, I will create a place of neshamis for you to hang out. Okay, we'll get back to this in a second. Let's just finish this paragraph. V'hinei, and so behold, kol hazman ahu tishkoinu hanashamis ein b'mayla u'b'tainot. The entire time in the olam hanashamis, they will be there at a place of elevation and a place of joy and pleasure. Me'ein mashi yinosin lehem achar kach. It will be almost similar to the enjoyment they will receive afterward, bisman hagmula, the time of the reward hamitzi, the true reward shezachar l'mayla, that we mentioned above. Kigama alosoi bo'olam hanashamis vadei shetimoided l'fi ha'masim she'oso. So even the stature of the neshama, of the individual neshama that it receives in the world of neshamas, will be in proportion to the actions that it did during the time of service. Shilifihem yimoided gamagmul, because in proportion to those actions, the reward is measured. Achar kach bizmana, it will be measured in the future world. Ach hashleimus ha'amiti ha'meutod lazoichim loy. However, still the perfection, the true perfection that is destined for those that merit it, lo yisiguhu, lo hagufu, lo hanashama. Independently, neither the body nor the soul can appreciate it. Ella be'eschabram shenis achar etchia. Only when they reconnect in the second round after the revival, right? So in other words, he's saying that even though the neshama is sitting in the olam neshamas, they're experiencing pleasure and tainug and basking in this delight, very close to the delight of Olam Haba, it's not the same, because the only true perfection can be achieved by both body and soul combination, not by each individual part of it. Okay? which is also hard to understand. Why would the body contribute to a higher level of perfection, okay, as opposed to actually lower it? That's also hard to understand. We discussed that question before. Okay, so what he didn't discuss, and we have to stop here anyways. So what he didn't, he only discussed the judgment that the body has to go through, and the neshama seemingly is just waiting around until the body goes through the judgments, because the body is the source of imperfection. The body is what is in a state of kilkul, destruction, just decay. Not decay, I mean in this fallen state. And so the body has to decompose, has to go through various judgment of the kever, of the grave. But the neshama doesn't. I think so. In the next letter, the next paragraph, he's going to talk about the purification that the neshama has to go through in the olam hanashamas. Okay. So we'll have to, for a fuller discussion, we'll have to finish that first, and then we'll come back and kind of discuss this, because I think it's very unclear. Okay.